Hi everyone in the 14-day challenge. I'm Britta, and I was asked by Deb to do the last day of the challenge. And I guess the first thing I want to say is that I feel very inspired by this challenge and so honored to be asked to contribute. And this practice for me is very meaningful because I've had a really hard last year and a half. And by reading all of your posts, I've been really touched and inspired by the way everyone is so deeply cultivating and committing to these practices. So this one is offered in the spirit of that same honor, as this practice has literally been a survival mechanism for me in the last year and a half. So it's Kundalini practice, and I'm not a Kundalini expert, nor am I a yoga teacher. I'm a physical therapist and career and life coach, but in the past I've been a spiritual mentor and teacher. So these practices are part of my way of being and my way of life, and sensing into the way that the human body actually is a mirror for everything that happens in the world around us. Is just a big part of the way that I live my life and guide people that I work with. So in that spirit, we're going to do 12 different movements, and I'll say a little bit more about each one as we do them, but I'm going to go through them and do each one at my own timing, what feels good in my body, so I encourage you to do the same. Typically, people will do them for 3 minutes or so. Sometimes I do just a minute. But I'll probably do around 2 minutes because that's what I've been doing for each one. But feel free to pause the video, do longer or shorter. And the other thing I encourage people to do with this practice is to have a journal or some kind of creative way of capturing thoughts during the practice, because as the prana and the whatever tradition you want to use, chi, ki, starts flowing, you get a lot of creativity. So I'll often pause my practice and write things down to use it as a tool for creativity as well. So just as a way of introduction about Kundalini, Kundalini is seen as an evolutionary process, and it's a psychophysiological mechanism that can bring about alert and heightened sense of mental functioning and creativity. And it's very strong when activated in people and can actually bring about a bit of chaos in the system. So I actually advise going very slow with any kind of practice that's centered around Kundalini and really focusing in on your body and what works for you. And I'll go a little more in detail with that as we go through the different movements. Just as a little story, I will say that when I did this with my sister and sister-in-law years ago, when I first started doing this practice, one of them loved it. She's very intense. And the other one was like, this is too forceful and too disjointed and too much deep, strong breathing. And as I look back, I realize this exercise may not be for everyone, but also I've really changed the way that I approach the practice and not pushing through things. And I found that in doing that and becoming much more subtle in my awareness of how to move and when to move, and when I'm pushing into a pain area too much, I'm actually flaring things up more than helping facilitate natural, intuitive, open-channeled movement and expression. And I guess the other thing I'll say about that is that this process is controlled by the subtle, super intelligent organizing principle of prana. And so prana functions to open these Kundalini channels and processes. So let's start with the beginning. Number 1, we start with the root of the spine, the sacrum, the first chakra. And so we move up the spine just to open up the entire spine. We just do a roll. Breathe in as you roll back. Breathe out as you come forward. You can roll up as high as you can on your spine in this one. And the other thing to make sure you're doing is going at a pace that really works for you and going slowly up and down your entire spine. If you need to go really slow, that's perfect. For me, I have a curve in my low back, and I've over the years learned to really hollow and curve that lower part so that it's not disjointed lump as I go down, which used to happen for me. And in that subtle, small awareness, you can start to get more control of your deep core muscles that are like a corset around your lower back. So play with how you can do one vertebra at a time. And just a reminder, breathe in as you go back, out as you come forward. And this just starts to open up all the little spinal nerve roots that exit the spinal cord through each vertebrae and innervate in both a sensory way and a muscle function way to all of the muscles in our body. We start as a neural tube, and then all those nerves branch out. So by opening up those nerve roots and bringing more circulation to that area, we're starting to bring a little more vitality into all the energy centers that moves out into our limbs. Okay. And if you like, after each exercise, you can stop, seated posture, put hands on your knees, and just take 3 to 5 deep, slow breaths. So you can really soak in and sync up with the changing in the energy of your body. Might also be nice to have some water nearby to just drink as you feel you need to during the exercise. And then the second one we'll go to is the root chakra, directly, explicitly. And from the beginning, it's important to start out following the exact rhythms and parameters that feel good to your body. And with this one, I'll just be frank and say that you can start feeling pleasure sensation in your sexual centers. So then you know you're rolling in the right place. You breathe in as you come forward, out as you go back through the nose in. And you should be rolling right between pubic bone and tailbone. And you can keep the head up on this one. It doesn't need to tuck. So start slow. And if you have pain, I've worked with this exercise with some people with chronic pain. Some people can only do a very small movement like this. That's perfect. Make sure you're not pushing into painful areas. If you stay and you do this movement for 5 to 10 minutes, if you can't go outside that, totally fine, actually perfect. You can pick up speed. Or you can keep it really slow and rhythmic. The most important thing is to stay in touch with the sensations at the very root. So your pelvic floor, which holds up all of your organs and supports the entire trunk of the body. It's a very, very important area of our body, physiologically and energetically. So if you need to go really slow to keep your attention and your awareness directly on the sensations on the pelvic floor, that's fine. And then if you feel like the energy's picking up and it's natural for you to go a little bit faster, absolutely go faster. During this exercise, you might start to feel a little bit of intensity in the lumbar spine, a sense of heat or even tenderness. And that's okay. But if it gets to the point where it's really tight and sore and you feel like, okay, I've exhausted myself, even if that's only 30 seconds to a minute, that's when you're done. You can start to feel some heat build up on this one. It's quite nice. So I'll do these in the morning, and sometimes I'll just do the first 3 or the first 4. Because what I love about this practice is you can just pick a few. If you notice some tightness in your chest or some tightness down here, or your legs feel tight, you can just throw in different ones as you need them. You don't have to do them all at once. If you can do the entire progression, then that's wonderful. And then stop. And just feel the difference in energy in your body. You can almost feel the heat rise up from your sacrum, your root chakra, all the way up through your head. And just see what your body feels. So the next we'll move to is the second chakra, with your sexual organs and your intestines. So this is a very watery place. So whatever foot you're sitting with in front of the other, I start circling toward that foot. So you're going to come forward as you breathe in and around the back as you breathe out. So we'll do half the time going in one direction and half the time going in the other. You can start to purse your lips like you're taking a little sip through a straw as you come forward. You breathe out through your nose on the way out. You can pick up speed. Or you can go slow. Generally start slow and pick up speed. You shouldn't feel any twinging in the back with this exercise. It should feel really comfortable. So if you only move within this range, that's perfect for you, because what we're doing is finding your body's intuitive range that it can work in. It's sort of like when you're building up a new muscle, or you're teaching a child to ride a bike, or I work with sometimes older people in physical therapy doing balance, and when their body is scared, we have to work slowly, moving to the limits so the body feels safe and relaxed. And then as things start to warm up and your nervous system calms and increases energy, now we'll switch sides. It lets you know when you're ready to go in a bigger range. So pain is always a limit and a parameter. And feel those watery organs squishing around on each other. We're massaging the organs and also getting energy from and contributing energy to the properties of water in our bodies. So if you focus on the element that we're working with while you're doing it, you can also add to the information of each exercise. Good, and then we'll stop, breathe. And just feel. I can almost feel an expansion down here as I feel into that part of my body. So the fourth movement is for the solar plexus. So we're moving up from second, and we're going to just pull forward like you have a string coming out of this part of your body. Arch and contract. Extend and flex. And on this one, you can start to bring the head in, but don't pull the chin up. Keep it flat. And as you contract back, chin to chest. Breathe in, breathe out. So the extension is always an inhale, flexion is always an exhale. You should really start to feel some heat in this one. In this center, it has a lot to do with power. It also can hold a lot of anger. So it's worth noting that with each energy center, you can feel strong emotion come up. This one I tend to feel a more aggressive, fiery kind of emotion. So just be aware that as you do these exercises, you might have interesting thoughts. Don't be alarmed. It's just worth realizing that that's normal. But also, if you're doing this by yourself, often what will happen with me is I'll have these different emotions and thoughts, and I'll think, oh, I need to go do this thing, or I should stop doing this exercise. And as I've realized, that's just what happens when you're moving different energy centers, moving prana in that area. It's moving blockages and fears and stuck emotions, beliefs, thoughts, experiences. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything that your mind connects it to. Good. And just feel whatever your body feels, but you can also kind of tune into this connection from spine up through your head, letting the energy flow up and out. The next one we'll do is cat-cow. So we probably all know cat-cow, but what I've really learned in this practice with it, I'll go from the side, is how to really lead from the tailbone, how to really lead from your sacrum and your lumbar spine. And I'd heard that over the years. Breathe in and breathe out. But as I've done this practice more, I've found if I can really tune into the sacrum leading and the head following, I can feel this natural rhythm that's almost intoxicating. And what you're finding is your own energy flow. A lot of creativity can come into just tuning into that rhythm. It can start to feel like you're moving in water. And then if you want to go faster, you can, but make sure you're going with your own flow. Don't get ahead of it to go fast. We're living by the phrase, go slow to go fast. It's really a good one. So we've been working up the spine, and this just keeps a fluid connection between the arms and the legs and the spine. And go a little faster. And behind your shoulder blades might start to get tired in this one, or your lower back. If that's the case, just slow it down. You want to keep your shoulder blades moving down your back on this one until you arch up. Good. Stop and feel. And the next movement can either be done cross-legged or on your knees. I prefer cross-legged because we're going to be rotating. And when I'm on my knees, I just tend to shift more, but whatever's more comfortable. So the next one is also solar plexus. And we're doing rotation. So in this one, I just want to point out to be very careful that you stay within the range of motion that feels almost like yummy. You don't want strain or tension. It's my experience that you can really over push this one and that you'll learn a lot more about the intelligence of your system by staying very small and then being surprised when your body takes the movement bigger. So we're building an awareness and responsiveness to learn exactly what our body's limits are and forming some fundamental movement patterns. And this awareness will stay with you as you move through the day and actually inform a lot of different things. But when you start going into any interaction and you can feel your system's getting revved up too much, you can relax back into your body. So these are tools for navigating all kinds of life circumstances as well. So hands on the shoulders. And first we're going to breathe into one side, out to the other. Halfway through we'll switch and breathe into the other side, out to the other. So start small. It's kind of fun to let your hair fly on this one. And I feel this one almost as there's like a little cone or pillar of warm light or warm fluid that starts to become a little hotter. It's like lube greasing wheels or gears in a car. Just starts being able to go faster as it warms up. More range of motion as it warms up. Okay, switch sides. And keep your head right in line with your shoulders. Your head doesn't need to turn too much. I can hear in my spine if I start getting creaks and cracks. And as I go through these exercises, I hear less of that. But if you're getting too much, either slow down the speed or decrease the range of motion. And start slowing down. Whew. With that one, I start to feel a lot of pulsating energy around the center of the body. And I find I get a lot of stuckness here and here. So sometimes I'll spend a lot more time on these two energy centers. So feel free to just notice where you have a lot of tension and spend a little more time there, and you can almost go slower there. So the next one we'll do starts on high knees, or tall kneel, as we call it in the physical therapy world. Thunderbolt. So your hips are the hinged component, but your heart is leading this movement. So you can think about it as breathing up into the heart. And as you do this, you'll get more aware of that. I feel it as like a sail billowing up with air, and my heart is pulling it up and going back down. And what I find in this one, I can feel the side of my body even that's more congested, and like right or left. And as I breathe in, I can feel which side of my body is filling up with air. So I'd be curious to hear what you all notice with this one. So you breathe out as you come down, breathe in as you come up. I'll go from the side too. And you'll feel if you're going and bending into your lower back too much, which I sometimes do, and just come back to your heart leading the movement. And this movement can bring about a lot of tender emotion. Not always something I could really name, but it's not that kind of angry, fiery emotion. It's a little more sweet, or even kind of a bittersweetness. And you can really feel the strength of your base and the floating, airy movement up to the sky. It's a really nice contrast. So we start connecting upper and lower with this exercise. And you can decide how much force you come down with. So you can start stimulating your root chakra as well. I can tend to go a little longer with this one, because I always feel so good just to pull up air into that part of my body. Good. Whew. As my favorite yoga instructor always says, don't blow out all the prana that you've been building too quickly. Just feel that nice, smooth exhale through the nose as you let all the energy that you're cultivating bathe the cells of your body. And feel the way that you're piece by piece integrating all of the energy in your body, all of the experiences that you've had throughout the day and throughout your lifetime. Doing a practice that starts to bring together just the innate intelligence of the way the system works together. Just bathe in that a little bit. Now we start to move a little bit more into the legs. I don't know if you can see me very well, but I'm in a frog posture. Heels up, hands planted just in front of the feet on the fingertips. And you want to be straddled wide enough that your hips are comfortable but stretched. Then you start looking up and breathing in. As you breathe out, sacrum goes up in the air, forward fold. Be very gentle with this one because it takes a while to start warming up the legs and the hamstrings. But with the turnout of the legs, it's very nice stretch of the outer hamstrings. So I go very slow. And as the legs straighten, I just keep the knees a little bit bent at first. Back flat. If you can't get your hands to the ground, use blocks or something to raise your hands, because you don't want your back to be bending. You want it to stay straight. And if your thighs get fatigued, just slow it down, but keep your form as precise as possible. You're going up on the big toe in the first ray, which is the second toe. not rolling out to the side, but keeping the joints in integrity. So you're pushing down through the ball of your foot, feeling the ground push up through the ball of your foot to the tip of your tailbone. I'm going to go a little faster. You can really feel heat in the thighs, which feels good to me. Start slowing down. Then you can just hang for a minute. Let your knees bend if you need to. Let the head hang heavy. Whew. Very good. So the next few are in standing, the last four. I'll get back far enough so you can see me. So first, just start in standing mountain pose. Feel the energy flowing down your arms, out your fingers into the ground. Ground pulling up through the center of the ball of your foot, through your legs, connecting all of the parts of your body where you've been building up the energy. Whew. I'm out of breath from that one. So the next one is standing rotation. You want to keep your shoulders relaxed, hands out. And you want to really push through that same part of the ball of your foot. And don't roll out to the sides of your feet as you turn. It's as if you're pushing with the opposite leg as you turn, keeping your knees in alignment. So turning, breathing into one side, out to the other. Same thing as before with the rotation. Start in a small range. Always start in a smaller range than you think you need to. I really can't say it enough how much benefit you get from starting small and subtle. Sometimes early in the morning I'll even just do like this, more Qigong style. Really good to have the foundation, particularly as we're working with the spine here, before we can fly. If you have a good foundation, then you can really fly sustainably. So now switch. Breathe in, breathe out. And it's the end of the day for me, and I've got a lot of good heat going, so I can start to go a little more. I also like to plan these exercises around knowing that I'm going to do something creative afterward. Writing, or even cooking, or just starting the day. Don't do them before bed. So if you find you have excess energy, very good time to do these practices. Slow it down. So this one, you're not rotating. the hips. The pelvis is staying relatively stable and the upper body is turning. So the next one we'll do is stretching the sides of the body. So again, we're going to switch in the middle, breathing into one side, out to the other, and then switching. So we start with arm up, other arm pushing behind the back a little bit, like this. So I'll start with my back to you. So breathe in, breathe out. When I'm stiff in the morning, I literally just do this. Shouldn't hear too much cracking of the shoulders. You want the arm to be turned, like armpit is turning into your ear, so you're not throwing out your shoulder. Be very gentle with these. Pushing down through the standing leg. So pushing down through this leg as I go up, down through this leg as I go up here. Not much cracking of the spine should happen. Now I'm self-conscious, but you can hear my cracking. Got a little bit of my neck, but I notice when I go to one side, it's a different movement in my spine. So it's very important to switch sides with how you're breathing. So I'm breathing in and out. Switch. It's nice to get these really rhythmic movements going, where you just kind of tune out with your mind. Just get kind of lost in the body. There's nothing more pleasurable for me than just getting lost in the sensations of the body. Realizing I'm a little out of this one. And then the second to last is for the sciatic nerve. A really good one for people who are sitting a lot of the day, to do this one every day. But you want to go very slow with this one. Arms come up, breathe out as you come down and touch your opposite toe. Breathe in, breathe out. I like to keep the knees a little bent. So you want to start slow and feel that you're getting a hamstring stretch without straining behind the knee. You want your weight evenly between your toes and your heels. So you're not too far forward and you're not too far back. You can close your eyes, but it's a little hard at first. This one gets to be a very beautiful, big dancing movement. You can look up at your hands and down. Really nice to do this one outside. So you're feeling the connection on the diagonals from your foot through your hip and your trunk up through the opposite hand. Like you're pulling down from the heavens and into the ground, and then the opposite. Or you can be pulling from both sides, meeting in the middle, or your heart and belly. But this one's really good for stretching all along the back body. And with the head up, you get that extension. That one feels really nice. So back to mountain. And just take in everything you've cultivated. Feel your heart beating a lot faster. And then the last one, quite fun, called the mind beater. You're going to go flat back. Breathe in with a flat back. Breathe out for 4 quick exhales through the nose. Slow breath in, extend it all the way up, and very simple, easy inversion. Gets blood flow to your brain. Stretches the hamstrings. Keep the knees bent whenever you're doing hamstrings if you need to. This is just a nice, fun way to close it out. I can start to feel my quads shake on this one. I can also feel where my hips and all the musculature in my thighs is out of alignment between one leg and the other. And you can just shift to find your middle, see what's not engaged in one side or the other. And use all of these as an opportunity to seek better alignment in your body. And last one. So now come down to whatever position or posture feels good. Sitting on the knees or in cross-legged seated position. Just close your eyes and sync up with the natural rhythm of your breathing. There's rain outside my window right now, so it's quite nice to relax into.